What's up, guys? We're going to work on purple belt now. Okay, I'm going to go through our techniques. We're going to do them at a nice walkthrough pace so we can learn some of the principles behind each technique. Now, as an orange belt, we worked on our balance. As a white belt, we worked on our posture. So we have our base figured out pretty good at this point. Well, we should have it figured out pretty well at this point. And now we're going to start working on relaxation for purple belt. And that, in turn, those three things together are going to start building speed and flow of action when we get into blue belt. Now, relaxing, obviously, is just not tensing up as much. We have to be relaxed because you can't be tense and move through your motions really fast. You can be very strong when you're tense, okay? But speed is going to suffer. It's just physics, right? So we're going to be relaxed. As an orange belt, we bridge the gap quite a bit. We're going to do that quite a bit in purple belt. But now we're going to be doing a lot more stuff with our body at the same time. So combining three moves together, sometimes four moves together as we move through this belt. We're also going to start working on our angles a lot more as a purple belt. Okay, so the first thing we're going to work on is a rear two-hand stiff shoulder grab from the rear with twirling wings. We've explored the figure eight pattern before when we're working on lone kimono as an orange belt. But now we're going to do it as a short range. I've already done this as a long range. I get the concept of it. Now don't get me wrong, we're going to use the long range version of a figure eight many more times. It's the same as short range in a different way when we get to blue belt. Okay, but purple belt, we're going to use our elbows this time. So somebody's grabbing us behind. So we are literally walking into danger. As a white belt, when somebody grabbed us from behind, we stepped away and struck. So I didn't really turn into them. I can see them, but I didn't turn into danger. As a purple belt, they're behind me. I am literally just barreling into them, okay? But in order to do that, I have to be safe. So if I was facing my new 12 o'clock this way, when their hands are on my shoulders, I'm going to cup and saucer. As we explored in our short form 2, what does that mean? That means that I'm able to chamber both hands at the same time. So both hands get to do something at the same time. And it's kind of the same thing as we did in short form 2, like this, except for I'm just going to modify it a little bit and have an inward elbow. Okay, so here I am facing 12. My left foot's going to go towards 430. I'm going to step back. Okay, cup and saucer at the same time. As I step back, my left hand is going to go vertical. And as I turn, you can see that I'm starting to employ a waiter's hand check. It's going to trap right over their arm. At the elbow, because I'm walking into danger, if I miss this location of this check right here, I'm going to get hit. I don't have another body around me because we can't work out with multiple people right now because of the shutdown. So you're going to have to bear with me and understand that my left hand is trapping their left elbow. Okay? I know this isn't an easy way to learn without another body, but it's what we have. So as I trap, my right elbow is going to swing right into the ribs. Now you notice, as I do this, my right hand dives. I'm diving this way, I can unwind back up this figure eight. Now look at my right hand takes that figure eight and replaces my left. And my right hand has to be vertical. And just like I said before, it has to be at the elbow. If it's below the elbow on the outside, you know the results. If it's at the shoulder on the outside, again, you know the results. We've worked on this before. So make sure your checks wind up on the elbow, on the left arm. And we're good there. 1. Step back, all the way into a forward bow as I crash into the ribs. As soon as I hit those ribs, you're going to likely bend forward. So this right hand just switches place and my left hand collapses. I go back to neutral bow. Across the same set of ribs. And now watch my left hand. It's going to do the same thing my right did. It's going to swing back up. But instead of checking like this, I just go on guard as I cross out. Cover. Right. 1. Forward bow, unwind, or loop back up as I unwind, and crash my other elbow as I dive down. Hook it up, that becomes my check as I walk out, as I cross out. Here, okay? All right, let's move on to snapping twig. This is a front left hand push. This in many ways is similar to lone kimono. It's in the same family. The objective here is I want to elongate his arm, okay? And I'm going to use that arm to break, and I'm going to use that arm to drag him into a different strike. So I'm setting up offenses from my offense. So I'm taking a little bit of a different approach than we did as an orange belt. So as their left hand comes straight to push, so they're pushing like this, here to my shoulder or to my chest, okay? I follow that and step back. If I step back as he's pushing, then we have a long arm. His arm has been elongated, okay? But I don't want to just let it be elongated and him punch me with the other hand. I got to cancel something out. So as he pushes, if I can trap with my left hand and strike with my right, I'm going to eliminate the ability to punch with that right hand that he has, okay? Because I'm going to cancel out his height. So as he pushes, I step back with my left foot. My left hand is going to shoot inside here. So this is an inward heel palm. But when I get to position, it's pinning his arm against my chest. I'm pinning his arm right around his wrist, so right over the top here, just pinned down. And in that same motion, my right hand's going to do the same thing. Now my hands are at my side. So my left hand just circles in. Now remember, okay, as a purple belt, to get to relaxation, relaxation gets us to speed, but we also have to have other things that we're doing that's going to help us get to speed, like elongating circles, rounding off our corners, okay? So I don't want to make this big circle here. I just want to make a small little circle, elongate it, just a loop, okay? And my right hand from point of origin isn't going to go way out here and strike up and telegraph, right from point of origin, a straight line. Here. Another key is I want to get snap. That's the method of execution that I want here, is a snapping strike. I want my fingers to lead the way. If I just lead it with my heel palms, I have my shoulders, my shoulder muscles pushing in. And shoulders aren't the strongest thing, all right? You ever see people do shoulder raises? They have like 5-pound weights, including myself, or maybe 10 pounds if you get real strong. It doesn't, you can't use a lot of weight with your little shoulders going up and down, or side to side. There's just not a lot of weight. We have our pecs doing this too, but it's still just not very strong. So I want to add more power to it by leading with my fingers and landing in here. So I get this snap to help build some power. So 1, I'm in a neutral bow. 2, my right hand is going to snake over towards 9 and hook over his arm. As a white belt, we did this the opposite way to grab for attacking mace, and now we go the other way. But I'm not going to grab his wrist. I'm going to do like a crane and pull into chamber. And when I do that, it spits his right arm away. I'm sorry, his left arm spits out to my right side. So we have the break. 1, 2, I hook around the bicep, around the forearm area, and chamber. And as I chamber and drag that arm away, I go to a forward bow and chop right to the neck. So as he starts to back away a little bit, my right hand continues to circle, an elongated circle. See where I am? I'm not going to go over the top and come back down. I don't got time for that. So from here, I went back. Here's my circle, just that loop to reset my straight line right to the face. And now from here, I'm going to push drag in to chase him down into a sandwich with an elbow, in horizontal elbow. Just come right up the line. So I shoot in, and my elbow collapses in as I smash the jaw and smash the cheekbone on the other side. Pushing his head one way and his jaw the other way. So we have 1, 2, hook, chop, elongate my circle, hammer fist, shoot up the line, strike. Side, 1, 2, forward bow. Elongate my circle, punch and shoot, and cross out towards 1 o'clock. Snapping twig. Let's see it from the side one more time here. Good job. Okay guys, let's get into leaping crane now. Leaping crane is against a right step through roundhouse punch. So we're not splitting hairs and saying, well, is he lunging forward? Is he stepping through with this roundhouse punch? Is it a horizontal roundhouse punch? This is an overhead roundhouse punch because all those different things could dictate where I decided to jump into my one-legged stance at the beginning of this technique, right? If it's a shallow punch and he's not really driving forward, I could leap into 1030. If it's a really wide horizontal punch, I might want to jump out to 3. If he's lunging with a big wild overhead punch, I might be safer going back to 730 with this. I could do the same technique in any direction that I need to go to make sure that I have access to his arm, his elbow, all right? Because that's where I need to parry from, okay? So it's good to work this in a technique line and have somebody punch in those different scenarios so you can play with where the front, with your lead leg will be planted, okay? For this exercise, we're just gonna go out to 9 o'clock. So as I go to a one-legged stance, I'm here. Now don't take your right foot and slam it against your leg. I see that too often, okay? It's great and it works great for timing when you're working on your form, so I know where to put my leg and I can hear that audible snap of everything kind of falling into place. But it's a bad habit when I'm outside these doors of the gym and I need to defend myself and I feel, I get to this position here and I crack myself with my boot or my tennis shoes into my own, inside of my own knee. Let's not do that, okay? So try to be aware of how you're placing that foot into one-legged stance. Also look at my posture, it's up. So I'm gonna go out to 9 o'clock, left to inward parry, not a big circle, I'm elongating my circles here, or shortening my circles, okay? And as I do that, my right hand's gonna come across and tenderize those ribs. I want a reaction out of him so I can set him up for my next strikes. So all this happens together. Kick. And now when I plant, I'm gonna plant towards 130, so my toes should be facing 12 o'clock, okay? When I plant, I'm gonna plant between his feet. I wanna watch where I'm going so I don't just plant and roll on his ankle. And I wanna step to the outside because he can just lay forward and kick upwards between my legs. So I step between his feet, okay? You can be accurate about all these stance changes that I'm making. 1, 2. And when I come forward, my left hand just maintains its check. And I plant with a back knuckle to his kidney. Now imagine if I'm sitting on the ground, my kidney is what? 2 feet off the ground? When I'm up here and I throw this kick, I don't want to do this. That's over his head potentially. So I need to dig down. Look at my stance. I get real low in my stance to hit that kidney. And if you hit the kidney, your body automatically, instinctually bends backwards. That's why we go to the kidney. I could go to the spine with my back knuckle, but I want him to come into me. If I hit the spine, he's gonna go forward. So I hit the kidney, he snaps back. Look at my left hand, that check becomes a heel palm to the face. My right elbow hits the other side of the face. We call that a sandwich. We've exercised that quite a bit in Orangeville, okay? That's called a collapsing elbow. As I plant, I have 1, and I'm in a forward bow right now. And now I go to a neutral bow, here. See, even I went too high. This is not his kidney. His kidney is low, but his head's a little bit higher. So there it is. And when I strike with the elbow, I go to neutral before I cross out. And I'm crossing out towards 1030. Okay? 1, posture. Kick, that feeds my kick. I don't want to be here in this cool karate stance, right? I gotta move through my stance. See that? And then I'm out. That's leaping crane. I'm hopping into my left one-legged stance. I went up the circle that time, or up the line a little bit towards about 1030 that time. Maybe it's a shallower punch. Leaping crane. Let's move on to swinging pendulum. I did a video about the clock principle before. We talked about this in short form too, about the angles of where my eyes go versus my feet. And this is where we're going to exercise this. This is against a right roundhouse kick. I'm already in a fighting stance. We're already in a fight. So I'm here on guard. Okay? So either here or here, however you like to be on guard. Okay? And here comes a roundhouse kick. So I got to get off this line. If I don't, the apex is where I'm standing. I'm going to get killed with that kick. So I follow the circle up the circle. and I land facing 1030. Now, how do I do that? My left leg goes in a straight line to 430. Back, unwind. When I'm done unwinding, I just so happen to land on this line of the mats right here, perfectly at 3 to 9 o'clock, because my eyes cannot face my opponent in the same direction of my feet, not in a neutral bow, okay? So I start in a neutral bow. You can see my toes are off the angle. I'm here facing my opponent. He throws the kick. I shift up the line, up the circle, towards 430. When I unwind, I go into a universal block. My right hand becomes an inward block, and my left hand, which is low, becomes a downward block to block that kick. So universally, I am protected from my nose all the way down to my groin. You can see the distance of this block. That's what we call a universal block. My toes are facing 9 up the slice of pizza. And now at the end of a circle, as my hips turn in a circle, is a straight line. So my right hand, if I just get rid of my left, swings down to the groin, causing this head to come forward. Okay? I want to get off the line again. I'm learning to walk up the circle to get away from my opponent, but still in range for striking. So from here, I step to, I went to 430 before, I'm going to go all the way up to 130, unwind, and catapult my elbow right to the face. And from here, I cross out to 3 o'clock. Okay? I'm facing this way. 430, unwind, universal block. My left and my right are going to switch as I shoot up the line with a shuffle and strike to the groin. My toes are facing right at 3 o'clock. I'm sorry, I'm facing 9 o'clock. I forgot I turned around. And now from here, I walk up to the circle to 130, and look, I catapult this elbow right in the face. We're offset. I'm not in front of him anymore when I do this. And now I cross out to the corner of the room. One more time. Swinging pendulum, because my right hand is a pendulum that swings here into the groin of my opponent. Walk the circle for safety. My right elbow is high, my left check is low as I hit him in the face, and then I cross out. Swinging pendulum. Okay, we have crushing hammer. Crushing hammer is a what if, or could be a what if, to capture twigs. He's got me in this bear hug here, okay? And my arms are pinned. And when he tries to pick me up, I drop down, do the same thing I did as capture twigs, and throw my hammer fist. Now I could continue and do my yellow belt technique. But what happens if I miss the hammer fist? What happens? What if I hit him, but I don't hit him in the spot that I intended, to the groin? So what I do is I do it again. I take my right hand and attach it by an imaginary line or string to my foot. So my foot goes forward, my hand goes forward. My foot goes back around his leg. My hand continues to go back and heel palms to the groin. Okay, you can see my stance get a little bit wider here because I C-stepped behind his leg. I'm going to use it as a tripping device. So when I hit him with my last strike, he should tip over my leg like a schoolyard bully would do by crouching behind somebody while they're standing up, and the other buddy would push him and he'd fall over your buddy's back. Same idea here, okay? Just natural, he grabs, my arms are pinned, I shoot out to the side, look over my shoulder. So my left foot goes to 9 o'clock, I hit to the groin. Maybe I do hit the groin and I just want to do more. Well, let's say that I missed this, it just didn't have the impact that I intended. So I come up, around the backside of his leg with a C-step as I hit to the groin. His head comes flying forward, I hit him in the groin this time, and my elbow shoots up here. And now I'm going to go into a horse stance as I claw and hook around his arm as I heel palm to the ribs. So my right foot is facing exactly at 3. My left foot's facing my opponent for stability purposes at 430 as I heel palm with my fingers facing away. If I was to heel palm like this, with my fingers facing me, away from my opponent, he could turn this corner and come and push this down, and now he's got me, cross-checked me. If I have my fingers facing away and he's trying to turn that corner, my hand turns that way and could push him back around that corner. So I have a bracing angle on my foot, I have a bracing angle on my left hand, okay? So it's a lot safer to keep your fingers away from your opponent or away from my body. So we have 1, up to my left. 2, I C-step here, up, over, forward bow, line, cross out. Now this claw that I mentioned earlier, that's just a filling dead space. You don't have to throw that claw right there. Just wrapping around and getting into this. This is the major move to the ribs. The high ribs right up here. Okay? If I face the opposite way, 1, 2. That's important. That elbow to the face. And now whatever you can do to get around, I go to my forward bow here. This arm is trapping his arm. So I control the fall. When I hit him in the ribs and his leg is right here, his left leg. When I hit him, his body wants to go back, but because I have this trip here, he wants to fall. So because I have his arm trapped with my right, I control where he goes. I place him down where I want him to go, which is in range, so I can start working on my extension. All right? Here we go, crushing hammer. Captured leaves. Captured leaves in our school is done from the flank, okay? They're grabbing my hand with their left hand, or I got keys in my hand, they're taking my keys and trying to run away with them, or my purse if I was a lady, okay? Or they're grabbing my jacket, or whatever it is. I'm a kid and they're trying to grab my arm and take me with them. They're grabbing me from the flank. So the standard way to do this technique is, if I'm holding something that they're grabbing, or even my wrist, I go forward, path of least resistance, right? Now, as I step forward, he's got his arm right here. There's a triangle, a little acute triangle right in this space, or acute angle in here. I'm gonna fit my left hand right in that space and chop through this space, trying to free whatever's there. If it's a grasp on my fingers, whatever it is, I'm trying to free that. And now that puts my left arm into a chamber. So from my right forward bow, I'm going to unwind to a neutral bow as my right hand combs my hair. Just a high check. I wind up in a horse stance facing 1030 as my left elbow drives back. And now I'm going to go into a neutral bow as I turn towards 1030 and my left hand chambers high, or checks high, I'm sorry, and my right elbow drives back. Okay? And from here, I cross out towards 9 o'clock. So it's 1, 2, horse stance, settle, 3, switch, neutral bow. You could even go into a forward bow here. Heck, I say go into a forward bow. There's so much power right here, that's totally fine. Doesn't really matter, okay? And now I go out between 9 and 7:30. 7:30 is probably even safer. They're really gonna change that angle for me and my opponent. If I do it the opposite way, okay. Now we have the added bonus of the arm break. It's the same thing from the beginning. I chop through this space. And now look, my right hand would collapse and hook. This is just like entangle wing. Same technique, break. And now my left hand replaces this and anchors down as my right hand goes while I'm in my neutral bow or forward bow. And now I cross over and out. Okay. Now if I have my fingers in my key ring or something that I can't get my hand out of, okay, I'm just gonna use my right hand as a check and let him grab. Okay, so I'll just step forward here and try to pull it in as I unwind. There's a lot of different ways you can accomplish the same technique. It's not an easy technique because of the grab, because there's a lot of variables as to what he's grabbing and how he's doing it. Okay, that's entangle wing. Let's do it facing the other way. Okay, evading the storm. Here comes an overhead club attack towards me. What I want to do here is take my left foot and step out to 1030 And as I do that, I'm going to check with my left hand, or parry. Okay? Let's say it's a parry into a check. And then my right hand is going to go up and do like a chopping check. I mean, I can chop the arm as well. I hate to put a specific type of move on something that's going so fast, because it's really hard, because if you miss that grab, and then you don't know what to do. So it can be a grab, it can be a chop to the arm, it can be a check, depending on the angle, how far away you've gotten yourself. As long as your head's not there, you're safe. Okay? This could be an upward block, but with a chop. Okay? Just trying to get that arm to angle away from you. Now, right from here, my right leg is going to swing right into a roundhouse kick. Okay? So I'm going right to his belly. So 1, 2, and here comes the kick, smash. Now on the way down, I want to control his arm. I don't want him to backhand me, because he's still got that weapon in his hand, so I control his arm. And now right from here, just like I did in attacking mace as a white belt, I'll control the arm and punch right to the kidney. Okay? So it's really like the aggressive cousin to attacking mace. Attacking mace, I dropped back and punched into the kick here and threw my punch. And this one, I'm leaning right into my opponent. I'm evading the storm, getting out of the way from that storm attack, inserting my kick. Okay? So 1, parry, or check. 2, upward block, check, chop, to grab. All those things, whatever you can get to for my kick. Boom, roundhouse kick right to the chest. And my timing would be, if I was here, I'm coming into the kick. I'm jumping into this kick. Okay? It shouldn't be one and then kick. It should be jump kick. Plant, grab, punch into my forward belt. My right foot's facing 12. Left foot is facing my opponent at 1 o'clock, because I've changed angles. And now from here, I'm going to drive a right knee to the outside of his right thigh, turning his leg around, knocking his knee to the ground. I'm just driving, boom, with a Charlie horse. He falls to the ground, his knee is right there. Traditional way to do this is to hop the other way and throw a knee to the other side. But if he's fallen to the ground, the knee's not there. Okay? It's so much harder to do that. So what I like to do in my school is, when I've deflected this strike and inserted my kick, and I plant, I punch, I drive, he falls to the ground. Now I go to a close kneel facing 9, just drop. So my knee just goes right into his Achilles tendon. His leg's in the same position as mine. I'm just on top. And I go down, and I feed my cross out to 9 o'clock. Evading the storm. Control this arm. Drive up the line towards 7:30. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm facing 12, so that's 1:30 now. I plant back and drop my knee on top of his Achilles tendon. And it flaps away. Okay. Now, when I went real slow, you saw what I did here. Wide bow, forward bow, kick. When I'm doing Evading the Storm, I am launching into it. Okay? So there's not a lot of stance changes happening here. Kind of like going into leap and grain. Right into the kick. I don't even plant my right foot. Just step forward right into the kick. Does that make sense? Evading the Storm. Okay, now we have Charging Ram. Charging Ram is kind of like swinging pendulum as far as angles go, but we're going to take our angle a little bit further this time. So I start in a fighting stance. Again, a lot of these techniques in purple belt and above, you start working from a fighting stance. So from here, what he's trying to do is grab me around my waist, and he could be tackling me, but grabbing around my waist and driving back, or pinning my arms. Okay, just a front tackle. So from here, what I want to do is not allow that left hand to come around my waist. So I parry downward. So if you look at my hand, it's up at my center line. As I move it down, it goes from 10 o'clock all the way to 4:30, or 10:30 to 4:30. Cuts across. Margin for error. And as that's happening, that downward parry, my left hand is doing an outward heel palm parry. So I'm striking his face with a heel palm, but I'm redirecting him. So it's considered a parry. So this is kind of goofy, because my right hand is doing a diagonal line, where my left hand is doing a straight line. So two different lines, two different orbits at the same time. And now my right hand clears that hand. It's gonna go up and a straight line right down to the back of his neck. Bam, right there. Watch this, I don't wanna do this. Big whole circle here and drop it down. While that would generate a lot of power, it wastes so much time, okay? So I want to elongate my circles. This is trying to prepare us for flow of action and speed in blue belt. So 1, if you look at my foot, it's going towards about 330 here, okay? You could say 430, or I'll unwind and kind of widen my stance. So you want to walk up the circle to about 330. It's a straight line. And now as I unwind from that heel palm, I don't want to wait too long because I just heel palmed him, he's gone. I parried him to the corner of the room. So as soon as I make contact, here comes this elongated circle. I come up and straight down, just a small little loop. And now from here I cat back and I use the top part of my foot as I do a lifting kick to his chest. I want him to start raising up. So it exposes the inside of his chest into his face. So I'm here, I plant, and as he's raising, I come up with an angled roundhouse kick to any available target, to his chest, to his face, and I come out. There's my cross and cover out towards 130. I also do this the opposite direction. Downward outside parry. Left heel palm parry towards 9 o'clock. I unwind, and look, I don't make a big circle. I shoot it up, shoot it down. He drops towards the ground. As he's dropping down, I'm lifting up with my upper lifting kick. As he's standing up, I plant. Now, I can plant in a twist stance here to allow this kick to come as a roundhouse kick. You have to gauge the distance. It's a gauging leg. Maybe when I chopped him, he started to stutter back. And when I kicked him, he started to go back. So I don't want to twist because I'm not in range anymore. I want to step in and throw my roundhouse kick, okay? It all depends on the factors of the technique. What is his reaction? Well, to determine where you put that foot. Okay? 1, 2, 3, feed into that kick. 4, plant appropriately, kick, and cross out towards the corner of the room. Okay? There you go, charging right. Parting wings. It's against a 2-hand front push. As the pushes come, I'm going to do what we call a center swim. I'm going to find the center and cross it. It's like a little birdie, okay? And peel away. You'll notice my hands are not out here. I don't want to use my defensive moves outside of my outer rim theory, or my outer rim, my egg, okay? I want to keep them close because I'm going to use them to strike. So my elbows are tucked in, right where they should be. Now I have his left arm on the outside of my right hand and vice versa on the other side. I don't want to take my right hand and bring it back to me and shoot underneath the arms and ribs. We're going to chop to the high ribs because that leaves his left hand able to punch me in the face or slap me in the face or grab me, okay? So what I want to do is make sure that my left hand, I go backwards into neutral bow, gets into position. So my left hand shoots across and now I'm checked. And now from here, I just take a small loop underneath his forearm or his wrist and forward bow and drive this as high as I can up in the top of the ribs here. I want to stand him up. And my left hand is now going to slide and track right off of our arm as I go neutral to his neck. So now he's like this, exposing his center, his chest, his belly, his diaphragm. I'm going to do what we call a sliding check. I drive this down into the stomach. So it's almost like a heel palm. And as he comes in, I'm going to feed my right hand through this space, threading the needle to a vertical punch, into a forward bow, into his solar plexus, or into the top of the diaphragm, pushing him down so that air gets knocked out of him, okay? So we have natural stance, cross my center line. Now here's a note. You see from the side, my hands are not staggered, because I don't want his hands to be past my blocks where he can hit me. I want to make sure that my hands are on a level playing field right here. Same line of entry, or same line. Okay. 1, 2, forward bow with my left foot forward. Chop to the high ribs. You can see where my shoulder is here, my hand is a little bit higher. I'm striking through my target. I'm going to lift, unwind to neutral. My right hand's chambered too. Slide down, I get a reaction. Forward bow as I feed my punch over the top. Right foot back, neutral bow. Left hand has to get there first. Forward bow, strike high. Chop the throat as I go back to neutral. Chambering my right hand at the same time, sliding down, punching over the top, letting me move the solar plexus. And now I come out towards 430 and across. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. That's over. Okay, thundering hammers. Boy, there's a lot going on in this technique. This technique, we have somebody throwing a step to the right punch at us. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to step in, and right from point of origin, my left hand is going to block to the outside of his elbow. And now from here, as I turn his body outside, away from me, I take his back, it exposes the ribs, exposes the back side of the ribs. Right from point of origin, my hand is by my side. I'm going to turn this arm into a Louisville slugger. I'm going to use this as a baseball bat coming right across. Okay? That's the action of my hand. So I have 1, he turns. The harder I hit this, the more he's going to rotate, the more of his back that I get. And from here, I'm going to push drag off my back foot. So we have a shuffle. That means I lift my front foot, step in, back foot follows. With a push drag, I lift the front foot and launch off my back foot. Okay? That means all my weight is in action when I collide with my forearm. This is an inward diagonal forearm strike. Okay? By the books, this arm should hit the ribs and dig down like an axe. I'm taking down the tree. I'm going to smash at an angle. Smash down at an angle, cutting cuts at an angle. Same idea here. 1. And I drive and come down. Now look at my left hand. My left hand is finding itself at a point of reference for hammering at the same time. So we have 1. As soon as my right hand takes over and cancels his depth and cancels his height, my left hand is free to be chambered. Look at my stance. I mentioned this earlier about our stances being strikes. This is a strike and a check at the same time. It can be either or. So as I'm here, all these things are happening together. I push drag into a wide kneel stance as my left hand takes chamber up top in point of reference for hammering as my right hand collides. And now from here, my right hand circles around, not a big circle, just a small loop. Get out from underneath his arm and hook the back of his neck and anchor. And from here, my whole system is going to change to a forward bow, a closed kneel, facing 430. My body is. My eyes are facing him at 130, but my body is going to 430. I want the dynamic of my stance change to cut him down like a tree. He's basically a tree in this technique, as you can see. Okay? Boy, do I get some marriage of gravity. I get some immense torque. Look at my leg. My knee is out towards my opponent. Small circle, hook the neck, and drive down. So my left knee is now going into his Achilles tendon. Okay? I hit the kidney. Do not hit the spine. Don't hit the middle of the back. That's like a massage. People pay for that stuff, right? You want to hit the kidney as hard as you can with your hammer fist. You want his head to want to come up, right? But it's not going to because I got him checked to the ground. So we have 1. We have 2. Hook. Drive down to the kidney. And now I do a roving check. A roving check means my hand goes from one place to the other in a small arc. So I hop over. And now, as soon as my left hand hits his shoulder, my right hand's free to come up now from my closed kneel. And now I do a closed kneel facing 10. So again, I drive my hips as I drop to the ground, and I use a hammer fist to the base of the neck, right here. Okay? So he collapses to the ground. And now I take my left foot and I cross out, changing angles on my opponent. Okay? This is one of those techniques where I can kind of cross out to 1032, and it's just as safe. I have his back when I do that. So we have 1, 2, 3, rove up, and 4. he goes boom right to the ground. So I can technically walk this way, but it's probably best to walk this way so I can see where he's going. He's charging me, I'm ready to go. Right? Thundering hammers from the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4. Thundering hammers. Okay, let's move it on. We go squeezing the peach. This is a rear bear hug. My arm's pinned. Okay, so I'm here. Or my arms could be pinned here. We haven't done that scenario yet. So when I teach this technique, I say that my arms are to the back. Okay. Let's meet halfway. Let's just say my arms are to the front. So here, right to the side is where we're going to meet halfway. The goal is, when he's behind me, I want to go backwards into my opponent. Because remember, we are really working on bridging the gap here. And when I bridge that gap, my left hand, even if it's to my side, is now lined up with his groin. If it's to the back, it's a no-brainer. It's already there at his groin. Okay? If it's to the front and I turn, when my shoulders aren't so wide, and I make myself a little bit skinnier, now there's a little bit of breathing room in here, which allows my hand to slide straight back. That's why I'm saying it doesn't really matter where your left hand is, because you can get to the back side as long as you're stepping back. So my left foot's just stepping between his legs, wherever I can find that space. And I'm grabbing. Now, if I'm back here, I'm trying to wrench my arm over and grab against his right arm if I can. Okay? If I'm to the front, then I'm hooking over and grabbing both hands if I can. If I'm to the back as I turn, I don't have a lot of options here, but try to wrench this forward. But again, I gain a little bit of breathing room when I'm going left to right. We kind of do this when we do a grappling technique where we're breaking guard. I don't have room when I'm facing my opponent, hips facing his opponent, but when I turn to the side, it's easy to break that guard and split open his legs because I turn lengthwise. My depth gets real deep, but my width is thin, so I have space to work with. It's the same idea here. Wish I had another body to work on to show you guys this stuff. So we're gonna start right from here. I'm gonna step back, hook what I can, anything I can with my fingers, because I might be stuck at my elbow, so there's not a lot. I just don't want him to choke me. So I'm protecting as much as I can as I step back and squeeze the peach. So I'm kind of in a, almost like if I could turn a little bit more, I'd be in a right neutral bow. So I'm kind of in a goofy stance right here, almost a reverse bow, okay? Or a side horse when I grab that groin, depending on where my arms are. And now as I hook, I'm gonna hold on to the groin, the testicles, and I'm gonna squeeze and step all the way around to 12. And I'm gonna let go as I face my back to his. I'm gonna do that because my foot's gonna take over. I'm gonna do a rear scoop or rear to front scoop kick with my heel. So it's like I'm pedaling a bicycle. And I'm going from 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock. So I was here. I scoop the groin and my knee comes up. And now the fun part begins. I'm gonna take my right leg, and instead of setting it back where I started at 9, okay, I'm going to, actually I started around 6, but I moved it to 9 to kick. I'm gonna take this big slice of pizza and move it now to 10:30. I'm gonna buckle this leg. I really wish I had a second body right now. This would make it so much easier, but you're gonna have to bear with me, guys. So we have 1. You should already know the techniques anyway at this point. We're just reviewing them so you can get better at them with some breakdown material, okay? And now I kick towards 9. Left hand starting to check as I let go of his groin. And I buckle to 10 o'clock. And as I plant, I pivot my hips. And that drives my elbow under his chin. So now I'm knocking him back to about 8:30. And I cross over. Okay. Squeezing the peach. Grab. Use my back to support his body. Squeeze his groin and lean forward just a little bit. So his weight is on my hips like a hip throw. I don't want to use his groin to pull in and use his arms to pull it in. I really got a strain here. Get some of his weight on my hips and step in. It makes it a lot easier. Okay? So depending on where you plant that foot, You could be in a neutral bow, or you can be a side horse. I'm really in a side horse when I turn around anyway, okay? And when I do that, I scoop and plant towards 10. Plant my foot down and unwind to my horse, move my elbow to the face. Now I cross out towards 3. Also turn around. Grab, hook if I can. Step all the way to 12. Scoop. I've already let go of my left hand, so my left hand comes in as a check as I drop into my horse and throw this elbow. Or even reverse bow. Both are appropriate. And cross over. Squeezing the peach. Okay, now we have circling wing. We have a 2-hand rear choke. So around the back side of my neck, domestic style choke. What I'm going to do is I'm facing 12. My right hand goes over my left here. So I am in a cup and saucer. And my left foot is going to step over the line. So if I have a line between my toes here, between my feet, I'm going to step over it. As a matter of fact, the more accurate way to say this is there's a right line to the right side of my feet. Okay? Or a straight line from 6 to 12 on the right side of my right foot. And that is going to be my new toe heel alignment line because I'm going to step over it. I'm going to modify this or adjust this stance a little bit. And as I turn from my cup and saucer, my circling wing is going to trap his arm. So I circle overhead and trap his right arm to my body. So his arm is sticking out like this. You can imagine that he's standing behind me like this. So the elbow comes right over my right arm. Okay? So we have 1. Cover step like short form 1. Trap and right into a forward bow as I poke to the eyes. My left hand slides down and jams against his right arm, bringing his head in. And as his head comes in, that closes the gap. I throw an upward elbow. Now the upward elbow can be on this side, it's totally appropriate. Under his chin, I go into a reverse bow facing 1 o'clock. My body faces 1, but my head's facing 7:30 as I strike to the groin, and that direction continues my walkout. I cross and cover out. Overhead, those happen together. Trap and poke. Check, elbow into my horse. Reverse bow. As I plant into my forward bow, my left foot's facing 3. And cross out to 1. Such a beautiful technique. Trying to look over my shoulder. 1, 2, 3. We talked about ratcheting before. I'm ratcheting around my stances. Every time that I do something with my hands, I match it with a stance change. So it's like click, 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 click all the way around that circle. I don't want it to be elbow goes, then my foot changes, then my foot changes, then my hammer fist goes. I was counting 1. Did something with my hands, did something with my feet. 2, 3, 4, 5. That makes sense? Circling wing this direction. Now, good. Let's take a break and we'll get into part 2.